Hello, friends of the Latino Chamber of Commerce. My name is Carla Colin. I am the president of the chamber, and we are here with two amazing amigos that are joining us for a little interview, just so you guys can know a little bit more about their organization, what they do, and how you can collaborate with them and talk to them about the resources and the services that they offer. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves because I feel like it's going to be better if they do it on their own, and also because I want them to tell you what they do for these amazing organization that the Latino Chamber has been friends with for a long time. So welcome, guys. I'm going to start with you, Josh, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do at Juntos.
Awesome. Hey, y'all. My name's Josh Stallings. I work with Juntos as our program manager of advocacy. I've been with Juntos for about 2 years, part of the immigrant rights movement for about a decade, and I'm actually a resident of Boulder myself.
Thank you, Josh. And Marcos, bienvenido. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Marcos Altamirano. I'm a recent CSU graduate, majored in real estate and finance, and I'm involved with Juntos by being in their steering committee. But yeah, super excited to be here.
Thank you, Marcos, and congratulations. I am a Northern Colorado resident, so I always get excited when I see um, the students graduating from the university. So thank you for joining us. And I'm going to start with a very simple question, and I want to make sure that people understand these. We've interacted with Juntos for a long time as the Latino Chamber, but also personally, I'm a former DACA recipient, and I know of the work that Juntos has done with all the DACA students. So I want to ask you, what is Juntos Community and what does Juntos do for those of out there that don't know what you guys do?
So, Juntos Community is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit based in Denver, Colorado, but working with people across the state. And our founder, Luis Santasana, is a DACA recipient himself. And he used to be a teacher and really started to see the limits of how much he could impact undocumented families through our school system. And so that kind of started the dream for Juntos. We're celebrating 4 years this year. And I know the work started long before that, but we've been around officially for 4 years. And our vision, right, is to see undocumented families in Colorado have access to upward economic mobility. We don't think that your immigration status should limit you from being able to have a sustainable income and to be able to thrive. And we also believe that undocumented families should be able to purchase, their first homes and begin to build generational wealth. So we have a couple of programs. Our first program is DACA Works, where we support DACA recipients to renew their status every couple of years. And we have grants that will help cover that renewal fee for folks that are low income. And then our advocacy program is really looking at how do we address the barriers for undocumented folks to be successful entrepreneurs and independent contractors, to access professional licenses, and to be able to thrive financially in the state of Colorado.
Thank you, Josh. And I'm a big fan of Luis and all the work that he has done with Juntos and within the community. I've been part of advisory boards with him. So it's amazing to see all the work he does in the community. So I want to talk to you guys about these barriers that you're mentioning, Josh. I want to make sure that we understand and that people out there understand what are those barriers that undocumented entrepreneurs are facing. We see it very closely at the Latino Chamber. And how are they dealing with obtaining professional licenses and work experience if they're undocumented?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, a big part of our advocacy program is we want to make sure that laws that we've actually passed in Colorado have an impact on the community and impact the community the way we hoped. And so 4 years ago in 2021, the Latino Chamber was a part of an effort with Colorado Statewide Parent Coalition and many other organizations around the state to pass a removing barriers law, or Senate Bill 199. And this removed the requirement to have a social security number to get a professional license, whether you wanted to be an electrician, accountant, a nurse, early child care provider, or hundreds of other different types of licenses. And so we spent all of 2024 talking to community members about their access to professional licenses and learning more about the barriers that were still existing, that people were still facing. And so we ended up putting together a report that shared our findings from all of our interviews and all of our surveys, called Strengthening Colorado's Workforce. And in that report, we highlighted some of the different barriers and we laid out suggestions for lawmakers, for employers, for government agencies, and for other parties. But out of the different barriers we've seen, right, one of these big barriers was background checks. And so I'm actually going to pass over to Marcos to share a little bit about what this barrier looks like.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Josh. But yeah, as Josh mentioned, it's great. We were able to pass some legislation that allowed undocumented immigrants to obtain professional license, right? So everything is great until that point, but I feel like with undocumented immigrants, there's always, something else, right? Another hurdle to overcome. And the case that we're seeing is that well, you're able to get your license, right? But your license isn't really helpful unless you, for example, hang it at a firm for real estate or you do the type of work. Um, when you do that type of work, usually what ends up happening is a firm would usually run a background check. And most of these companies run a background check only accepting a social security number. And that's where a lot of undocumented immigrants are facing that issue, right? I mean, you were able to go to school, you were able to get your license, you checked all the boxes, but there's one small hurdle that's keeping you from, working for what you studied for or, trying to do something you always wanted to do. Um, but yeah, that's the issue going on right now. And I think it would be very helpful to try and, find ways around that.
Definitely. Marcos, thank you so much for sharing these. And Josh, what you were mentioning at the beginning is, and we saw it, Josh and the Latino Chamber have worked in different capacities on all these issues that our community encounters. But the removing barriers law, we've been trying to find a lot of answers that apparently a lot of people don't have, the answers, and the people that should have the answers don't even know. Because we've had a lot of people reaching out asking for these removing barriers law, and no one knows where to start it or how to do it or which professions apply, which ones don't apply. We have a lot of professionals in the healthcare system that were in the system back in their countries and they cannot apply these here. So, it's very interesting to learn about not only the removing barriers law not being applied to a lot of people, and especially undocumented people that want to work or have their own business, but also these action with um, the background check. So I'm thinking already about the Latino Chamber members that are employers. How can they support and how can they remove these barriers for undocumented potential employers or contractors that could help them obtain an employment or an opportunity of employment at their place? Do you have any insights on that side?
Yeah, I think I want to just share a little bit more about where this barrier actually comes up before answering that question. And so it's, Marcos mentioned that as an independent contractor wanting to be like a real estate agent, that sometimes agencies or firms will require their independent contractors to fill out a background check. This is totally something that happens also a lot in healthcare or with people that are working with kids. But this has also actually stopped people from being able to get their license to specifically in like nursing programs or mental health or teaching, anything that involves like a clinical or practicum experience. We've seen students do all their coursework, but not be able to get into their clinical experience to finish their program and get their degree and their license. And then even with volunteers, right? We've heard from like parents that can't volunteer in their kids' schools because of background checks in certain districts. And so all of these are issues, right? And not every background check requires a social security number. Only some background checks do. And the interesting thing about all this too for me, right, is that the FBI and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, they don't require a social security number for their background checks. It's only certain private companies that do. And so these are all things that make us go like, why does this barrier exist? But for employers, there's a couple of things to keep in mind, right? Like one is just like where are you unnecessarily requiring a social security number when you don't need to, right? So if you're not verifying whether someone's eligible for employment, there's not a need to require a social security number. And Marcos, I'm wondering if you want to jump in with a couple other thoughts for employers too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea, or I think it would be a great idea to move in the direction that CBI is a great option. I think not many employers know that a CBI background check is just as good or not better than any other type of software they might use because the reason why I say this is because CBI uses fingerprints, right? So they use your fingerprints to get your background. So anything that you've been involved with will pop up with your fingerprint. So it's like even better because it's your own like hand, right? Like your own finger. So yeah, I think if we can make that if we can make that a goal to kind of have companies understand that CBI is a great option would
Definitely.
be great.
Thank you so much, Marcos, for that. And I'm thinking already about making a clarification here because I know people might be confused. It's not for when you apply for employment as a W-2 employee. It's for a contractor or a volunteer opportunity, like Josh was mentioning. If you're not even able to volunteer at your kid's school, then how are you going to be involved in your community, right? Because you cannot pass a background check when it requires a social security number. So I just want to make that clarification. It's not for W-2 employees. It's for someone that is offering their services as a business owner or a contractor. So think about that and make sure. I know Josh and Marcos are going to send us information on how to contact them and links that can help with these. And it's going to be on the description of this video. But just make sure that you as an employer or you as a business owner look for other options so you don't take away that source of income or that opportunity from subcontractors or small businesses to work with you or your company. So I just want to ask anything else that you want to add in regards to this topic, you guys. I think this is great information. And obviously, we're going to have, as always, this interview as well in Spanish for those of you that prefer to hear the information in Spanish. But anything else that you want to add for now?
Yeah, I would just say that in order to address this background check barrier, we will be introducing legislation in the state of Colorado in 2026. As far as I know, we'll be the first state to address this issue head on, though it's definitely felt in other states. And so there's a couple of steps that you can take to support our effort. The first thing is we have a petition right now where we're asking people to sign on in support of this effort and to get updated as things happen. So we'd love for you to sign that. If you've been directly impacted by a background check that excludes you for not having a social, or maybe you work with people that do, or you're an educator and you've seen this come up, we'd also love to be able to interview you to learn more about your experience. And then in the coming months, we'll have more opportunities for businesses to sign on and support and to be involved in other actions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Josh. And obviously, you know that you can count on the Latino Chamber to support the efforts and anything that might be needed for these. And it's amazing to learn that this is coming to legislation next year, and we'll be happy to help and support in any way possible. So thank you so much, you guys, for this interview. I just want to make sure that people know and understand what's happening with all the organizations that are doing amazing work in the community. Like I said before, the description of how to contact Juntos, how to contact Josh, and how to learn more about these topics is going to be in the description of the video. So please follow the Latino Chamber Communication channel so you can learn more, and obviously follow Juntos. Thank you, and we'll see you in the Spanish interview.